All right. Good afternoon to those of you on the East Coast. Good morning to those of you on the West Coast. I'm your host, Brandon Troy, host and co-creator of Movers and Shakers Unlimited. Thanks so much for joining us today. I hope you guys had a great weekend. Happy belated Valentine's Day for those of you out there. Hopefully it was a good one. So if you had a chance to take a look at our promo, we do have a guest on tap today for an upcoming horror indie feature known as Dementer. So without further ado, let me bring on our special guest. We have writer, director, Chad Crawford Kinkle. What's going on, Chad?
Not much. How you doing?
Good, good, good. So first and foremost, how you doing and how have things been thus far here in 2021, man?
It's going, I'm just trying to make the best of it for sure. Today, I don't know if you hear my audio, but I'm going through a sleet storm. We're having this big weather system move through Tennessee, so it's making it's hitting the windows basically. So.
For sure. So let's hop right into this film. I had a chance to see it, and it was quite an experience. So can you tell me, I understand that it definitely this film comes from a personal place with your sister, I understand. So can you talk a bit about that and the origins of Dementer?
Yeah, I'd been wanting to make a movie with my sister for a long time since I was in film school and just never knew of what idea would probably be best. And then, like I've said before, it's like I got real inspired by this movie called The Tribe. And it was like set in this school for the deaf, and it was all in sign language. And anyway, I just thought, you know what, I could do a horror movie with my sister in her world, the center that she goes to and like the living situation that she's in. And, I could present a horror movie in there and like, what would that be like? And so I just, at first I was thinking I would just do actually a documentary style movie where I'd follow her around with a camera for a month and just start to create like a narrative based on the things that were happening. And then I realized, it was going to be too expensive. And so I was going to have to do like a normal feature, just a very short 14-day shoot. And that I needed like, a different main character than my sister. And so I came up with the concept of this girl who is a drifter and she wants to help people. But every time she goes to help someone, the devils show up. And she has this book that has these different ideas in it to get rid of the devils. And the book is from her time when she was with this backwoods cult, but she can't really understand or remember what happened with the cult. It's just fragments in her mind. So the whole story became this journey of like being in a fragmented person's mind as they're trying to grapple with what they perceive to be real. It could be real, could not be real, And so came up with that idea. And I wanted to shoot it, of course, like in my hometown with my sister. And so like there's only two actors really in it that are professional actors. The main cult leader and then the main actress. Everyone else is like a normal, a non-actor who's never acted before. So like when you go and you think about how to build a proper independent feature, you don't do what I did at all. You don't use people with disabilities. You don't use non-actors. You don't use sets that are live, basically. You want to do one location, and of course I had many locations, but I just had this story, and so I had to do the things that to make it happen. So,
Gotcha. And what you were just talking about is a great segue into just the subject matter or the elements that this film tackles. Just as you were saying of some of the elements that are very much live and are very much happening in real time. So I feel like some of the things that are really difficult to capture on film is anytime you're working with anything that deals with animals, or anything that deals with people that are handicapped or are disabled in any type of way. It is a very fine line in terms of how they are utilized in a film. So in with it being, as I said, something that's very personal to you, can you talk a bit about kind of finding that fine line, and when you were thinking about this idea of doing this project, of that idea of bringing in those elements and kind of really pondering, should I execute things, this way with these elements, or did I, did it go a little too far, or, am I striking the right balance?
Yeah, I mean, just with the idea, I didn't even tell people at first when I thought about it. And then eventually, when I got serious about the idea, I called up my different filmmaker friends. One is Lucky McKee, who made this movie called The Woman. And anyway, I was asking him about it, and he just thought the idea was fantastic, and he could see the pureness of the journey, this creative journey with my sister that I was going to take. And it's like it's if anyone else had gone in and asked the people who ran the center where my sister goes, "Hey, can I make a horror movie here?" They would have almost definitely said no. But since I've my sister's been going to that center for 20-something years, and a lot of the people that you see in the movie with her, I've known my entire life because my sister's growing up with them in the school system. So I'm very well known. My mom is very well known, to the people that in the center and everything like that, because we've always been a big part of that community. So me going in and doing a horror movie, they could trust me that hey, this is my sister. I love her. I'm not going to do anything weird, to her, to any of the other clients, But there is that line that I'm still trying to tell a story, and but that line still exists. So there is a constant fight between, I want to make the best movie I can, but I need things to happen. But of course, I don't want to do anything that's going to make me feel bad about how I've handled these elements. And we did that. I mean, I did that too with the people that I selected to be on the crew as well. They were people that I had to have full trust and know them, that I could bring them into this personal situation and not have anything bad happen. I had to trust them first off. And another producer had mentioned in the very beginning, oh, you should get a bigger actress or a name actress to be in this movie. And I was just like, no, I'm not going to do that, because I wrote it for Katie Gershon, who's the actress, because I've worked with her before. I know her personally, and I know that she could come in this environment and not only pull off the role, but be great with my sister and the other people, other clients, basically. And you just have to have trust in what you're doing in each other, And like I said, what was wild is, normally when you're shooting with actors, you can tell them, okay, yeah, do it again, come back in, go back outside, do it again. I didn't really realize how the mobility of my sister and the other clients would be, that it was so limited that I would have them, walk into the house. I could maybe have them do that one more time, but that was it. They're just so, fragile, and it would have been cruel for me to say, okay, go do it again. So I had to make these concessions. And, I remember writing the script thinking, I may not be able to get this to happen. What is, happens in this scene, but every scene I took as okay, I need to have the essence of it happen. So how can I pull that off and not step over the line? So it was always on my mind for sure. But like I said, since I approached it from the position of, this is my sister, she's a person I love in my life, that, I was never really worried about it, too much. So.
Gotcha. And I was gonna say, even secondly, even in that same regard, with as you said, it deals with elements of cults and the occult and that subject matter. So also wrestling with some of the things that the lead character does, in terms of, in their perception, they're using it as a form of protection. And not to go into any spoilers, but they're using it as a form of protection, and some of the elements that the means that they use in order to implement that. Was that something that you also went back and forth on, in terms of how it was shown visually or implied for the audience?
I knew that, like, when you juxtapose like her tactics about what she was going to do to help my sister in the movie, I knew it would get under people's skin. Even though, like, when you shoot it, my sister's not there. None of the clients ever saw anything bad, because you're shooting them separately. You can fake it, and but I knew, of course, that dealing with this touchy subject matter, these images of people like my sister, then you have it combined with these, horror elements. I knew that it would definitely, it would provoke people for sure, provoke emotions. And then really that's the key to a horror movie to begin with. You're trying to provide this kind of wild emotional experience for the audience. And, whether they, it's ultimately totally pleasurable or not, it's a horror experience. So, I knew that it would definitely raise some eyebrows, but, yeah.
And then I was going to say, additionally, with, you've been quoted as saying that this is a film that, in some, on some level is very, abstract for you, and it deals, and then watching the film is very, like, hypnotic in terms of all the elements at play, even with the music choices. So can you talk a bit about that, and still having that element of dread, like, pretty much throughout, in some form or some level throughout the story, of it still feeling like it's constantly in the background and always around the corner?
Yeah, well, like I was saying before, it really became a story about being, like, when you write just a script in general, the audience is going to feel or go along an emotional journey along with one of the characters, and you always want that to be the main character. And with this story, I always felt that this was a person with a fragmented mind. So I wanted you to feel as if you were in her mind with her, and that's why it has such a nightmarish, abstract kind of feeling to it. And so, because she doesn't know, she can't remember the things, and there's no other extra person to explain, what's happening really in the story. And so you just kind of tie those ideas together like that. But like, the dread is not knowing. The dread is the anticipation of something bad's going to happen, even though she's trying to do good things. You think, but you don't know either. So you're just put in this position the whole movie of not knowing where it's going to go. And it's a horror movie, so it's going to go someplace dark. And it's just that, it's just constant pressure of not knowing. And with the kind of intuitive way I wrote it, that kind of helps play into this not understanding things totally, not being able to put your finger on what's going to happen, And so, like I said, I wrote the script very intuitively. There were moments in the movie where I didn't even know what they meant, but I knew that they fit somehow, even though I couldn't put words to it, so.
Gotcha. And, just as you were saying, just that idea of indie filmmaking, everything that entails, going forward now with a lot of, switching gears a bit and going forward with projects that you have that are still, developing, can you talk a bit about how, what we currently have now, that having still that mentality versus the reality of many of the limitations that you are likely facing now as a writer, as a filmmaker. Are you able to speak to that, and how within the last year, how how that's perhaps provided interesting challenges and perhaps even, you know, new opportunities.
Well, I mean, yeah, with the whole COVID thing, you know, I really kind of switched gears for a little bit and started writing a book because, you know, just making a feature on a shoestring budget, it's tough enough that, you know, when you have to compile it with a new budget line of you know, COVID preparation, you know, it's just like, it's almost at times it can make, you know, making a feature like I did impossible. So really now is when you couldn't make the movie I just made right now. You know, it'd take another year or two for things to kind of calm down with the virus and everything. But I could see where other movies, they could use that to their benefit. I know there was one on Shudder, a service called Shudder, but it was all done through Zoom. And it was, I guess, it was a paranormal thing. I didn't watch it, but that's a good example of how people have taken the situation and said, okay, well, how can we still make a movie that's scary, but work with the current situation? And so.
Gotcha. And with that being said, you know, what does it currently look like, you know, now in terms of those projects? As you said, I know you had just mentioned that you know, switched gears into doing a book, but perhaps there are some projects that, you know, that you are able to announce, or maybe they're still in the early stages. Maybe they are, you know, being placed back on the slate now that things are starting to, you know, change a little bit or continuously develop, as they say. So are you able to, you know, discuss what those are?
Yeah. I don't have any titles or scripts yet that have been greenlit, but I definitely have a couple that I've been working on, and lately, one that I've switched back gears from the book back over to this. The book is basically going to be a multi-year kind of thing to get done, but yeah, I'm back on my screenplay stuff, and you know, just I'm not exactly worried or trying to like pivot off of the current situation with these scripts. They're more normal budget and normal kind of situational scripts. So so hopefully within like the next year, I'll be making one. But I don't have any news yet. But yeah, they're in the works for sure.
All right, awesome, man. Well, again, Chad, thank you so much, man. Thank you for coming on and talking about Dementer. Before I let you go, can you tell folks where they can find you?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter at Chad C. Kinkle or Chad Crawford Kinkle. Or you can find me on Facebook. I think it's as the same thing. So yeah, and please look out for the movie March 2nd. It comes out on most VOD options, any cable networks, and you know, different things like that. So thank you for having me on.
Awesome, man. Of course. Well, there you guys have it. Thank you guys so much for watching, those of you out there. I'm your host, Brandon Troy, of course, host and co-creator of Movers and Shakers Unlimited. You can find us on Facebook, which you're watching now. However, you can also find us on Twitter at Move and Shake UNLTD, or Instagram at Movers Shakers Unlimited. And of course, you can find me, Brandon Troy ENT, on Twitter, and Brandon Troy _ENT on Instagram. Again, thanks so much for watching. Be safe out there, and I'll see you soon. Bye.